welcome to the WOC Inspire Her Stories by women like you, where women share their stories and their business journey to inspire other females to follow their ambitions and their purpose. I am Kateria Solomon, and I will be your host today. Our guest speaker is an award-winning international business mindset and transformational coach. She is certified in mindfulness and conscious business. She is the international best-selling author of The Fearless Entrepreneur, the creator of The Mindful Planner, Hack Your Day for Productivity, and associate producer of Deepak Chopra's The Mindfulness Movement film. Clarisa Romero, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Katiria. Thank you so much to WOC for having me participate in this series. I'm so excited to be here.
We're so glad to have you here. I read your book. I got my hands on a copy, which I also have with me here today. We'll talk more about it throughout the conversation.
Yes.
And I had no idea that you were in Puerto Rico.
Yes. I'm actually from the small island of Puerto Rico, and I came to the States when I was 8. But a lot of people don't know until they catch the accent.
So tell us, how exactly did you get to where you are today? Because your story is so inspiring to so many women. What got you there to tell us everything you've accomplished? Because you have accomplished significantly a lot.
I started my journey in education and psychology.
Okay.
And when I graduated from college, I had my heart set on being a psychologist. So I went on to nonprofit, and I was working under the leadership of a clinical psychologist, in fact. And I was loving that job. But life is life, and as I scaled different positions within the organization and became the director of development and outreach, at the time we had a new gubernatorial administration, and I got recruited to go into government.
So they pulled you out.
And so I got sucked into the government, and I worked for 2 different administrations, and towards the end of that journey, coincidentally, now I understand synchronistically, but I did not see that then, I went through a series of traumatic events, all within 9 months. So the governor at the time lost. My father is battling cancer. I'm going through a divorce. It all happened in 9 months. I'm now unemployed. My father passes. I get divorced and I lose my house. And I'm sleeping in my mom's couch.
Oh my gosh.
And so that started a whole journey of finding myself. I often speak and I talk about it in the book. Sometimes we think that our jobs or the roles that we hold are our identity. When you're young, you don't realize that's not who you are. But that's who I thought I was. So when I lost all of that, I felt like I didn't know who I was. And so I went into a deep depression, and I hit rock bottom. 2 years in a rut, completely in the dark, trying to come out of it. Eventually, when I said, okay, I really get a grip here and get my life back in place and find how am I reinventing myself, everyone was like, oh my God, like with all your background, we know about this opportunity at this lobbying firm and this PR, and I went into that. As I was trying to glue myself together, but I hated it. In trying to reinvent myself, I end up at this place that seems logical, and yet I am so unhappy. Why? And that led to research. If you feel like your life is in a rut, you hate your job, what will it take for it to be different? Does life happen to you, or can you consciously create your life? I thought life was just life.
And
you roll with the punches. And after that pivotal moment, every day, I was practicing mindfulness, different contemplative practices. And I started tuning in and saying, okay, what will it take for it to be different?
What can you tell me about fear?
We all hear fear, especially right in this day and age that people are afraid of getting COVID, going out, different things. But what I realized in that journey of discovering how things could be different was that all my decisions and that everything that I was experiencing was being defined by fear. And fear was paralyzing me, and it was keeping me stuck. And I started understanding that in order to change my circumstances, I needed to learn how to live with fear, because we can't get rid of fear. None of us, that fear is part of our human experience. As long as we're in this 3D experience, we're going to experience fear. A lot of people think that they need to get rid of fear. And that's where I was going wrong. So in the beginning, I wanted to like push it away. I didn't want to be afraid anymore. And so that's why when I was working with my publishers, they're like, oh my God, we get the title for your book. You're the fearless entrepreneur. That's because you talk about managing it, not that it's going to go away. That's where the title came from, because I realized that in order to pivot, in order to consciously create, in order to get out of that rut that I was in, I needed to learn how to manage fear and learn to live with it and let it fuel me instead of being paralyzed by it.
So what would your message be to our female listeners that are feeling that right now? It's really the one obstacle that's keeping them from starting their own business or from changing their career. That's the beauty of your book, by the way. I just love it.
My message is for any woman that wants and has the desire to learn what are those tools, what's the way, what's the method, what's that blueprint, how did you do it, how can I do it? There is a host of things that you have to do in order to get unstuck, in order to manage fear and live differently. The biggest obstacle was me getting out of my own way. We don't realize how much our unconscious programming, our unconscious thoughts stop us until you start bringing awareness. You don't realize, oh my goodness, really? That's what I think
so you're
about
saying
myself.
You were your own.
I was my biggest.
You were the voice.
I was that
you
voice.
were that little chatter
inner
voice
critic
that
was
you
a
speak
bully.
of. You were the bully.
It was a bully. It was a real nasty bully. I would say the nastiest things to myself. I have to say, like, I'm very lucky that my fiance is like my biggest cheerleader. He would get so upset with me when someone would say, how do you rate yourself? And I would be like, oh, 1 or 2. He would be like, what? 1 or 2? What do you mean? You have all this knowledge. You have all this training. And I wouldn't see it. I was so blinded by just hating myself and my depression, and I just couldn't get past that. I was my biggest obstacle. But when I first started on this journey, some people would say, you can't make a living doing that. That's like a side hustle. So what are you going to do for a real job? I'm going to help women. If you have something you're passionate about, go for it, because that means that it's calling you. I talk a lot about entrepreneurship from the inside out. I'm glad I started aligning and allowing life to show me what it needed from me.
What's the message that you have for that person that's listening right now and they're like, that's me?
If you're losing your job, then maybe the universe is telling you it's time to reinvent yourself. It's that there's something better for you. Sometimes we get so stuck on the negative.
Stuck in the
right?
rut. We're stuck in the rut.
And then it activates the emotional brain, and then you'll be further, so you can't move from there. So my message is everything's always an opportunity. Out of every bad circumstance, something positive is going to come out of it if you allow for it to birth itself, to present itself. Sometimes huge opportunities are knocking on your door, but because we're stuck on the negative, we're not seeing that opportunity. So I allow that to come through. During all those times that I didn't understand how to help myself, I felt like I was in the middle of a hurricane and I couldn't get out. And I was just getting hit by the wind. And today I feel so empowered because I have all these tools that I use. Now I don't try to hold on. If something's asking me to pivot, I'm like, okay, I embrace it. Or, okay, something better's coming. Just believe in yourself and believe that God, universe, whatever you connect with will always have your back, even in the darkest times. And that's what I say. If you allow things, that they birth themselves. We just sometimes want to structure everything instead of aligning with things.
Yeah, and you're bursting with energy. You're glowing. You look beautiful. Like, you're just radiating positive.
I think one of our last conversations, we talked about that. Like, one of my goals when I was stuck in a rut, right, was, man, one day will I be able to like spring out of bed and say, I love what I do. Yes, I'm ready to start my day. Because I was like, not how I started my days. And now that's how it is. And I'm like, whoa, it became reality. Like, I love what I do.
We also manifested it into the universe,
absolutely.
Right?
I allowed it.
Which you speak about
to
a lot
come in.
too.
Yes.
So to our listeners and our viewers, if you tune into her website, her work, her book, she speaks a lot about neuroscience and the brain and how to rewire everything and just how to manifest things. Thank you so much, Clarisa. You have inspired me once again. Every time I see you, you're a true inspiration. And I'm pretty sure you've inspired the ladies that are tuning in today to view us or to hear us. Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, for giving us this opportunity today to have Clarisa and for being the presenting sponsor for the Hudson County Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
Thank you.